Hello. Welcome to the Department of the Air Force Child and Youth Programs Medication Administration Instructional Guide. This guide is from April 2022. The training objective is to assist CYP personnel with the requirements of medication administration. This guide is for information only and may not be used for personnel evaluations. You will also get an annual training for the installation medical advisor. The purpose of this training is to provide guidance on processes, procedures, and documentation for medical administration in CYP. The overview. Only medications with written orders from a prescribing healthcare official are authorized for use within CYP. No medications may be given without authorization from a parent or guardian. Prescriptions are not needed for items such as sunscreens, lip balms, hand lotions, non-prescribed ointments and creams, insect repellents, and hand sanitizers. Diaper ointments and creams, that is. However, these items have to be labeled with the child's full name and returned to the parents when no longer needed or have expired. Remember, if you have ointments and creams, diaper ointments and creams in your classroom as well as lip balms, upon receipt, you need to make sure that they have an expiration date on them. If they do not have an expiration date on them, please label the non-prescribed diaper ointment or cream or lip balm with a 1 year of the day that you got that. Okay. All medications are stored at the front desk in an unlocked cabinet. The cabinet only contains medications and is clearly labeled medications. All medications must be in their original containers, labeled with the child's full first and last name, the dosage, and how the medication is to be given. Medication is returned to the parents and guardians when the medication is no longer needed or has expired. CYP personnel are trained by a healthcare provider before administering medication. Preferably the same people administer the same medication every time it's given. EpiPens, glucagon, Solocortef, which are emergency medications, may be provided in CYP. No other injectable medications may be permitted without permission from Air Force Services, A1S. Medications may not be mixed with liquids or foods unless specifically directed by a healthcare provider. Medications requiring refrigeration are kept in a designated secured refrigerator that is securely labeled with medications. Only medications may be kept in this refrigerator. Note, FCC providers are not required to have a separate refrigerator for medication. However, that refrigerator must be labeled or must have a child-proof lock. The processes are in place to receive medications and parent authorization forms if an emergency arises. Medications are not administered in youth programs. However, emergency medications may be administered if needed. Administrations of medications. Hand washing is required prior to and after administering medication unless there is a medical emergency. Medications that are administered 3 times a day may only be administered once during a typical day, which is 10 hours of care. Medications that are administered 4 times a day may be administered 2 times a day during a typical day of care. And medications that are administered only once or twice a day will not be administered except for time-sensitive medications. This requirement does not apply for children in extended care. Children and youth are administered the initial dose at least 20 minutes before signed in to care. Parents are notified of any adverse reactions such as diarrhea, skin rash, high temperatures, and/or refusal to take medications. Parents and guardians are notified immediately if children and youth receive the wrong dosage or the wrong medications. Youth may self-administer medications if written permission is on file. CYP personnel trained in administering medications should be present at the time the medication is self-administered. For field trips or emergencies, routine or emergency medication is transported in a secured container, such as a backpack, by CYP personnel trained in medication administration. Air Force Form 1055 should be maintained with the medication and annotated at the time the medication is provided. Procedures for administering medications. Wash your hands. Make sure the name on the medication and the name of the child are the same. Check the dosage, the frequency, and the route of the administration before giving the medication. Observe and report any side effects. Document the dosage and the time the medication is given. A person administering medication initials the Air Force Form 1055. Replace the medication in the storage unit and wash your hands again. Emergency medications. Parents and guardians must provide emergency medication at the time of enrollment. A current, within the last 12 months, emergency response plan from the prescribing healthcare provider is provided for any child or youth requiring emergency medication. The action plan includes triggers, signs of distress, and medication administration instructions. When administering rectal medication, care is taken to protect the privacy of the child and youth receiving that medication. Whenever possible, 2 adults must be present during the administration of the as-needed rectal medication. The parent or guardian is notified immediately if emergency medication is required. Note, depending on the severity of the situation, CYP personnel may need to administer the medication or call for emergency medical assistance before contacting the parent or guardian. Diabetic accommodations. Personnel and providers are trained to care for a child and youth with diabetes. Training includes glucose testing and actions to take when the results of the glucose tests are abnormally high or low, and when to administer emergency medications. Training is conducted by a medical specialist and conducted annually. Parent and guardians must complete the Air Force Form 3417 Air Force Child and Youth Diabetics Care Plan for blood glucose testing, authorizing personnel or providers to conduct blood glucose tests at the same times each day. The Air Force Form 3417 is updated annually. The Air Force Form 3416 Air Force Child and Youth Blood Glucose Chart should be used to monitor glucose. Both forms can be found on ePublishing. CYP personnel may not provide insulin therapy by injection or make adjustments to insulin via a pump. CYP personnel are to notify parent or guardians or appointed backup if children and youth requires insulin. Contact emergency services if insulin is needed prior to parent and guardian's arrival. Youth who are capable of self-testing may carry diabetic testing supplies and conduct their own testing if written permission is provided by the parent or guardian. Youth may conduct the test in private or in the presence of an adult. Air Force Form 1055. Air Force Form 1055 is a legal document. Use blue or black ink only when completing the document. For recording errors, cross out with single line, make the correction and initial. Correction fluid, whiteout, will not be used. Parents and guardians are to complete an Air Force Form 1055 for CYP personnel to administer medication. Parents annotate daily if medication is needed. As needed emergency medications such as albuterol and glucagon can be prescribed for up to 12 months. This Air Force Form 1055 is initialed by the parent and guardian/guardian annually to authorize the administration of the as-needed medication. CYP personnel annotate each time the medication is administered, here in the yellow. If the medication is not given, document the Air Force Form 1055 as to why the child did not receive the medication. If parents and guardians do not initial daily on the Air Force Form 1055, down here in these boxes, the medication is not administered unless CYP personnel contact the parent and guardian for approval by phone, fax, email, or obtains permission from the child and youth emergency contact. Healthcare providers may be contacted if necessary. If CYP personnel are unable to contact any of these sources, medication is not administered. Note, if authorization is received, the parent or guardian is required to date and initial the Air Force Form 1055 upon their arrival, down here. A stop date and an expiration date is required on the Air Force Form 1055. The stop date may be different than an actual date, or it could be for the time period the medication is administered, for example, 10 days. This will be annotated here. Note: if no actual date or time period is annotated, the stop date is the expiration of medication or 12 months from the date of the action plan, whichever comes first. File the Air Force Form 1055 in the child's file. If the medication is still needed, use a new Air Force Form 1055. Instructions for completing Air Force Form 1055. CYP personnel complete the following sections of the Air Force Form 1055, shaded in the blue sample. The day the medication is received, record the child needs name as it appears on the prescription in the space provided. The medication, record the name of the medication as it appears on the prescription or the medication label. The purpose, record the reason for the medication, why the medication is administered. For example, muscle relaxer, ear infection, cough, etc. The prescription number. Record the prescription number as it appears on the medication label. If over-the-counter medications do not have a prescription number, write an A in this section. The expiration date. Record the expiration date of the medication. This may not be the same as the stop date. Record the amount of medication to be administered as it appears on the prescription label or medication. Record when the medication should be administered while the child or youth is in care. The parent or guardian cannot dictate additional doses. Stop date. Record the date to stop giving the medication as it appears on the prescription. If there is no specific time, the stop date will be the medication expiration date or a year from the date of the plan, whichever comes first. Special instructions. Record any special instructions, for example, refrigerate or give after meals. Record the name of the prescribing healthcare provider and the date that the child was seen. Record the date the healthcare provider examined the child and youth. CYP must complete the following sections on the Air Force Form 1055, shaded yellow on the sample. The name of the medication, date the medication is given, the name of the medication administered to the child and youth. More than one medication can be listed on the Air Force Form 1055. The amount of medication administered to the child and youth would be where you put the dosage and the time that the medication was given. A signature, your first and last name, of the CYP personnel administering the medication. Note: CYP personnel initial and annotate the reason if a child and youth does not receive the medication. The parent or guardian completes this section on the Air Force Form 1055 form. Record the name of CYP on the first line, and the parent or guardian signature, and the date authorizing the CYP personnel to administer the medication. Here. Lastly, parent or guardian initials and dates the section titled Daily Permission Verification at the bottom of the Air Force Form 1055. Each day the medication is administered. Note: the parent or guardian initials annually for the as-needed emergency medications. Thank you so much for attending this training. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact your director, assistant director, or training and curriculum specialist.